Arizona contemplates prioritizing non-English learning in the name of social justice. Ay, papi, where can I get my Biden Blue America Make Last America hat, senor? They're about to cancel Speedy Gonzalez. I thought I'd get that in there. I'm Dr. Duke, she's Katie, and this is the Dr. Duke Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Duke Show, the only program that keeps you educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. Before we start, I want to ask everyone to please download our new Freedom Project Media app. It is our prophylactic between the vicious, insidious big tech companies and censorship, because we have our own little proprietary app now. It limits the danger, the canceling they can do for us. So all you got to do, it's free. Download our app, protect yourself from Mark Zuckerberg and his minions, and get direct contact from us every single day. All you got to do is allow notifications on the app, and you'll get 17 new shows every week. And I'll throw in the Speedy Gonzalez voice with no extra charge. All right? Katie now joins us for a look at the health of our republic.
Only read Dr. Seuss if you dare, and if you do, just beware. You are then racist like they say, but just ignore them and it will all be okay. Let me explain. That hat is really heavy, but not as heavy as my heart for dear Dr. Seuss, who must be canceled on account of racism. No, he's not racist, but cancel culture says he is. So... By now you know the story of Dr. Seuss, and yes, I know I'm punny, and how Dr. Seuss has been deemed racist and insensitive, or at least 6 of his books have been, including this one, and to think that I saw it on Mulberry Street. You let me know in the comments, in oh the places you'll go fashion, how far past reality have we traveled? And as always, please share this video, especially if you think Dr. Seuss is amazing, because he is. But we must now cancel 6 of his books because they have racist images, even though they don't. That doesn't really matter. But I was told by the president, you know, the almighty Barack Obama, that Dr. Seuss is the one and only whom we need.
Pretty much all the stuff you need to know is in Dr. Seuss. It's like, the Starbelly Sneeches, you know? We're all the same. So why would we treat somebody differently just because they don't have a star on their belly?
Dr. Seuss was a wordsmith. Barack Obama was a hypocrite. Some of all that stuff you need to know is found in these 6 books that will no longer be published and which could basically get you kicked off of eBay if you try to sell them. But you can still sell Hitler's Mein Kampf. Anyway, those evil Seuss books are And to Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street, If I Ran the Zoo, McElligot's Pool, On Beyond Zebra, Scrambled Eggs Super, and The Cat's Quizzer. The worst part is that it was Dr. Seuss Enterprises who decided to cancel the 6 books, and it was announced on Seuss's birthday, which is a real kick in the balls.
Seuss's foot rockets into Kirby's crotch at 22 miles an hour, landing with 1,100 pounds of force.
Eek! And I don't even have balls. But neither does Joe Biden, who, unlike his homie Barack Obama and Orange Man Bad Donald Trump, did not include the Theodore Geisel, Dr. Seuss, in the National Read Across America Day proclamation, which is made every March 2nd, Dr. Seuss's birthday. No balls, Biden then sent Jen, I sucky at my job, out there to defend why Dr. Seuss was left out.
The day is also a chance to celebrate diverse authors whose work and lived experience reflect the diversity of our country, and that's certainly what they attempted to do or hope to do this year. And as we celebrate the love of reading and uplift diverse and representative authors, it is especially important that we ensure all children can see themselves represented and celebrated in the books that they read.
I'm shocked she didn't just circle back on that, but her answer says it all. We can't have Seuss books because he's not diverse. He only created just about 100 different characters in more than 60 kids' books. But I don't identify as a Sneetch, a Wocket, or a Bifferbaum bird, so it is simply not allowed to exist. We for sure can't have such an awful man allowed to present his books to the general public.
Books he says he wrote not for children, but for people.
Why is humor so important? Without humor, we'd have nothing, I don't think.
a monster! I'm triggered. And this is why it's so necessary that companies continue to allow themselves to be canceled because of one offended lefty taking to Twitter or TikTok, announcing their emotional instability, and laying claim that it's the white supremacist, capitalistic, Christian, and or conservatives' fault for said feelings. And that goes all the way down to the youngest of the young, babies. Babies are racist. The Arizona Department of Education is now making that claim. Journalist Christopher Rufo uncovered this stupidity and let everyone know just what Arizona thinks of its babies. According to their equity toolkit, the Department of Ed included a graphic that states, by 3 months old, your baby may be racist because he or she can recognize different races. That simple fact makes him or her racist. They go on to say that silence about race reinforces racism, so you must educate your baby beginning at birth so they don't absorb the bias from the world around them. That kid will so clearly be a racist. But unlike him, this 4-year-old boy will grow up to be a model for his generation.
The ABCs. You like this book? Yes. Are you a woke toddler? Yes. Can you say, I'm woke? I'm woke. A is for... ally. B is for... bye. C is for... coming out. D is for... drag. E is for... equality.
He's a woke toddler. So Dr. Seuss is racist, but the GAYBCs is good. Let's look more closely at this atrocity of a book that woke mom is so proud of her emotionally abused son. The GAYBCs is by Matt Webb and is summarized as a joyful celebration of LGBTQ+ vocabulary for kids of all ages. It's a playdate extravaganza that transforms into a celebration of friendship, love, and identity as 4 friends sashay out of all the closets, dress up in a wardrobe fit for kings and queens, and discover the wonder of imagination. Here are some samples from the book. B is for bi. You can shout it loud. I like boys and girls, and that makes me proud. And just know that the letter X is for X. You can write it down when you don't prefer M or F as your noun, or reality as truth. Now, just as a point of comparison, let's take a look at the racist Dr. Seuss's ABC book for the same exact letters. Big B, little b, what begins with B? Barber, baby, bubbles, and a bumblebee. Big X, little x, what begins with X? X-ray and xylophone, X, X, X. That racist just taught kids actual words. He really is showing his racist bona fides. So again, just as another reminder, Dr. Seuss, who wrote an ABC's book and a book called You Are Kind, can't be read, but the GAYBCs is encouraged. A review by Booklist actually praised the GAYBCs because, for many kids, this will encourage important conversations about identity and sexuality, as well as offer those who might be questioning their own identities the space to see themselves. This book is for 4 to 8-year-olds. These same kids are expected to be able to choose whether to cut off their genitalia or take hormone blockers too. We don't have kids anymore, just smaller adults. Meanwhile, the adults in the room are trying to get out of any responsibility. Insert teacher unions. Really, there shouldn't have been any uproar about Read Across America Day and Dr. Seuss because how many kids were even in school to know about it? Could we get a little more worked up about kids not being in school for an entire year, as we seem to be about Dr. Seuss? Or maybe we just let Seuss be the one to teach our kids to read, since they're not doing it in the schools either. But I digress. I've talked enough. The day is through. Now go read some Seuss. It'll be good for you. But before you go, please be kind. Share this link. It'll help me out and hopefully get others to think. Until next time, stay healthy, America.
Joined now by our international correspondent, Alex Newman. Alex, thanks for your time today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And the good news, Alex, is that you're here in studio and not down in Florida, so we're able to talk face-to-face, which is very nice to have you here. Welcome to Wisconsin. That must have been really hard to leave the beaches of Miami, I know, to come up to frosty Wisconsin. But you have another one of your really important stories. We have a situation in Arizona where, despite the will of the people, overwhelmingly, that young kids coming from foreign countries, particularly the south of the border, learn English in American schools. We've got a small liberal contingent that wants to eradicate that and get rid of English immersion teaching. This is remarkable.
It really is, and it's interesting because it is the immigrants who are fighting this most seriously. In fact, the vote against it in the House of Representatives was an immigrant, and some of the immigrants are speaking out most loudly and clearly. But what this would do is it would end the English immersion programs that basically require schools to teach these foreign language students in English all the time, which is, of course, how you become an American, how you adapt to the English language, how you start thinking in English. And making matters worse, the voters actually voted to have this policy in place. So it's the politicians now who are trying to pull the rug out from under them. And as several people told me, including the former superintendent of public instruction of Arizona, you and I both know her, she serves on the board of one of our groups, this is going to create a permanent underclass, an entire category of people who will forever be second-class citizens, who won't grow up speaking English properly, who will be doing menial jobs. It's a tragedy. It's a travesty.
Why are Republicans in the state of Arizona, including the Republican governor, seemingly behind this?
Well, there's a few things. One of the things is propaganda. They're telling them that this isn't effective. We need to give them teaching in their home language, so we should have some of their science classes, what are history classes in Spanish, which is just false. They're using fraudulent studies, phony science to make these arguments, and that's just about as much as I can tell. There really are no legitimate justifications. And if you look at the research, if you look at the evidence, it shows that the kids will do much better if they are forced to adapt to English. We're in America. English is the language here.
This is bizarre to me. I mean, so the people overwhelmingly want this. What is this? Do I smell the Chamber of Commerce here? Is this one of those Bill Gates, what we really need is dumb labor to stand on assembly lines. Bezos needs thousands and thousands of immigrants to stand there and package everybody's boxes. Is this one of those things, do you think? Or do you think the Republicans actually have bought the lie that not teaching foreign kids, newly American kids who are from foreign countries, not teaching them English is somehow going to be better for them?
I think it's a combination of the two. I think the establishment forces pushing this, they understand full well what they're doing. And Arizona, despite having a reputation for being conservative, there's a lot of establishment activity going on there.
Well, I mean, you've got Democrat senator there, right? You got, although she's relatively tame compared to some of the Democrat senators, it was the land of John Sellout McCain and his idiot family who somehow trades off his name to subvert republicanism every chance they can. And why is that? Is that because so many retirees is a state like Florida, right, where whatever the native population might have been. So in other words, Florida's a red state. If you factor out all the Yankees that move down there and vote Democrat, it'd be a really red state. Yeah. Is that pretty much the same demographics in Arizona?
It is, yeah. And there's a lot of really important players there that most Americans don't know about. People like Michael Crow, who runs the Arizona State University system. He is also the chairman of InQtel, which is the investment arm of the intelligence community. So there's a lot going on in Arizona. It's kind of at the forefront of establishment policies. And I do think a real important element of this is to try to create these divisions. They want, and we see the same thing happening in Europe, they want to fracture cohesive societies. And one of the really effective ways of doing that is making sure that people don't share things in common. They don't have the same history. They don't have the same language. They don't have the same background and values. And I think that's what they're trying to do here. It's the same with the critical race theory. Get people divided, have them fighting against each other, and then use that to subvert liberty.
It seems to me if you can break apart long-established and largely successful countries like America, if you can get Americans to no longer have anything in common, to see the other Americans as the enemy, to even go so far as to label the largest majority of people in America racist and therefore obligated to everybody else, you can, I imagine, usher in globalism much sooner. Is that probably the end game?
That's exactly what's going on, Duke. We see it in Sweden. We see it in Germany. I mean, in London, Brits are a minority now. In some of the biggest European cities, the native population is in the minority. That's exactly what's happening.
After the break, we'll look at some of the consequences of this kind of gerrymandering of language. Back again with Alex Newman, talking about the story out of Arizona where, despite the overwhelming sentiment of the Arizona people that incoming kids, particularly non-American kids, first-generation American kids, alien kids, illegal kids, kids that are in the state of Arizona, in the public schools, not be taught in English first, not put in English immersion classes, but instead teach those kids in their native Spanish. This is a Balkanization trick. This is, as you said before the break, this is an attempt to drive further wedges between a burgeoning immigrant community and the established communities. But talk about what some of the other the people who are arguing this is a mistake. What kind of things are they predicting will happen in Arizona if you allow this kind of Spanish-only language immersion to happen?
Yeah, so one of the people who's really been forcefully speaking out about this, he's the founder of the Arizona Rapid Response Team. His name is Jose Borrajero. He's from Cuba. He's an immigrant. And he said, hey, the reason I was so successful here in America is because they forced me to learn English. I had to think in English. I had to do school in English. So that was very successful. And what he says is if they move through with this and start having bilingual education and not forcing ththese kids to learn English properly, and here's a direct quote from him. He says that this is going to assure, let's see, where did I put it? Condemn them to a lifetime of menial, low-paying jobs. And he's right? How are they going to go out and be successful in the corporate world and the government world if they don't speak the language of the American people like natives? It's going to be a tremendous handicap.
And then you hear the universities who are talking about the native speakers are all racists. Native culture is all racist. English history, the language is racist. The history is racist. Our government is is racist. Our institutions are racist. On the other side of that, you have all this pressure to unmake traditional American culture, including its language. And so on the one hand, yep, you're guaranteeing them to some degree to lower paying jobs and more manual, menial labor. On the other hand, who's to say in 10 years? Where is this radical anti-white, anti-American sentiment that dominates corporations? It dominates Hollywood. It dominates big tech. It dominates academia. It dominates journalism. I mean, if we follow the tangent, all of this anti-white theorizing, all of this whites are guilty, all of this white culture is corrupted, seems to be suggesting to me a revolution somewhere down the road where it's all replaced. What we're seeing with cancel culture now, this is the beginning. This isn't the end. This is the beginning of what we're canceling.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Duke. If you follow this to its logical conclusion, it is going to end up unmaking the United States as it stands, and I think that's one of the goals. But in the meantime, I think the effects of this are going to be tragic. I say this as somebody who grew up in Latin America. I am very thankful for the fact that I was immersed completely in the local language. If I had not gone to school in Spanish, if I had not been taught to think in Spanish, I wouldn't have been able to function properly in a society where Spanish is the dominant language. And there's experts on this who've spoken out as well. One of the people, her name is Johanna Haver. She's actually written a book on this. And what she said is if you don't do this, teach the children with English immersion programs, it's going to handicap them. And then Diane Douglas, who's a mutual friend, wonderful lady. And I thought her comments were just brilliant. She said that, if English language immersion is a failure, it's only because we now have an education system that can't even teach English to English natives, right? To people whose native language is English. She's absolutely right. And so how can we expect them to teach English to non-native English speakers if we can't even teach our own English speakers?
Yeah, it's a ridiculous system. And I wonder, too, with all of this, the pushing from the other side, the anti-American progressive crowd, would they really prefer America given back to Spanish-speaking peoples? We talk on the one hand, globalism is the key here. The globalists are doing all of this so that they can reform society under one global aegis. Those people who are still thinking, reparations, let's hand all the Southwest back to Spain, to the Mexicans, let's get rid of other parts of the country too, to give Louisiana back to the French, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's not where this is headed. This is headed for ultimately a predictable globalist path, isn't it?
That's exactly where it's going. And I can tell the progressives, having grown up in Latin America, spent 7 years in Mexico, 4 years in South America, all the things that you claim to hate about America are massively exaggerated in Latin America. So-called white supremacy, the two-tiered class system where you don't have a middle class, you just have the upper class and the lower class. All of those things will be coming here if we pursue that same path. It's a disaster waiting to happen.
Alex Newman, one sad story after another, and Republicans and so-called conservatives don't seem to be much of a bulwark about this. They're being led by the noses in this in places like Arizona. Thanks for your time today.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's that special, special time when we get some real education. And it's time for William Shakespeare, as it has been all week. Because you know what? Billy Bard Shakespeare, he deserves a lot more attention than he gets. And so we're taking a look at some of the world's heavy hitters and what they actually have to say about the Bard. Today, we're going to take a look at Bernard Levin.
Yeah, we're resisting cancel culture. We did it last week for the great Dr. Seuss, who, by the way, was a raging liberal in his political worldview. The kind of guy that I would not have a lot in common with, but we could sit down together over The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, and it would be a happy time. So they're outing radical liberals of the 50s and 60s now, and people like Seuss. Well, I wanted to read one more example of why Shakespeare mattered. This is Bernard Levin, who wrote just a list of all the things that if you say them every day, you're talking Shakespeare, whether you know it or not. And here's the list. If you cannot understand my argument and declare it's Greek to me, you are quoting Shakespeare. If you claim to be more sinned against than sinning, you're quoting Shakespeare. If you recall your salad days, you are quoting Shakespeare. If you act more in sorrow than in anger, if your wish is farther to the thought, if your lost property has vanished into thin air, you are quoting Shakespeare. If you have ever refused to budge an inch or suffered from the green-eyed jealousy, if you have ever played fast and loose, if you have ever been tongue-tied, a tower of strength, hoodwinked or in a pickle, if you have knitted your brows, made a virtue of necessity, insisted on fair play, slept not one wink, stood on ceremony, danced attendance on your lord and master, laughed yourself into stitches, had short shrift, cold comfort, or too much of a good thing, if you have seen better days or lived in a fool's paradise, why, be that as it may, the more fool you, for it is a foregone conclusion that you, as good luck would have it, are quoting Shakespeare. If you think it's early days and clear out bag and baggage, if you think it's high time and that it's the long and the short of it, if you believe that the game is up and that truth will out, even if it involves your own flesh and blood, if you lie low till the crack of doom because you suspect foul play, if you have your teeth set on the edge at one fell swoop without rhyme or reason, then to give the devil his due, if the truth were known, for surely you have a tongue in your head, you are quoting Shakespeare. Even if you bid me good riddance and send me packing, if you wish I was dead as a doornail, if you think I am an eyesore, a laughingstock, or the devil incarnate, a stony-hearted villain, bloody-minded or blinking idiot, then by Jove, oh Lord, tut-tut, for goodness sake, what the dickens, but me no buts, it's all one to me, you, sir, are quoting Shakespeare. And that's a great big middle finger to all you censorious left-wing morons across the world.
Woo! Well, all right, just a quick reminder to please download our brand new Freedom Project Media app. Again, you're going to get access to 17 new shows every single week, plus our entire library of content. All you have to do is simply search for Freedom Project in your app store, and once you download, make sure you allow those notifications to come through. And of course, if you're a fan of this show, please consider a one-time tax-deductible donation to support our Patriot Club, and we're going to send you, as just a small token of our appreciation, our signature tumbler. All you have to do to sign up is visit patriotclub.us. That's patriotclub.us. And now, we want to take a special moment to show some love to our Patriot Club members. And today, we're giving a shout out to Thomas from Dublin, Georgia. I was about to say Ireland, but it's Dublin, Georgia. Thank you, Thomas, for supporting us.
Dublin, Georgia. Faith and Begorra, y'all. And that's going to do it for this show. Now make sure you go to the Freedom Project app for Freedom Project. I'm Dr. Duke. She's Katie. Until next time, you stay educated.